So, thank you very much for coming this afternoon. Acronyms. My work here has been defined by acronyms, and so I was really pleased when I was able to come up with a truly excruciating acronym for this particular talk. And, it really does it. So, and there are only 30 slides, and I'm going to try and get through quite quickly, hopefully in about 20 minutes, okay? So it's not quite Pecha Kucha, but it's on a mission. So, the first acronym, DTP, this is how I got to the university, desktop publishing. So I was a desktop publishing specialist. They thought they'd have to get one from America, but it turned out that come on and grab a drink and some snacks and stuff. There's always one, two. So they thought they'd have to get a specialist from America, but it turned out I was living just down the road, so that saved them some relocation costs. Oops. I was using a program called Ventura Publisher, which was the bee's knees at the time. This was pre-Windows. It actually came with its own graphical user interface that kind of worked with it. And this was kind of something like my PC was, and it was the dog's bollocks at the time. This is a PC XT with an 8286 processor running at 6 megahertz. It had 640 kilobytes of RAM. and like nobody else had this, mine had a hard disk. So this was really good. And I joined the computing service, as was then. This is pretty much all of them. Apparently there's a few who are upstairs installing a new PC and some stuff like that, but generally this is kind of about it. And later on I'm going to ask you how many of these people might still be here.
Interesting journey with that.
Yeah, it is, yeah. So this was Morley Sage, who was in charge at the time. And, you know, you can have fun. Although he was after your time, he kind of left pretty much when I arrived.
No, but he was still
around.
The most loved person in ECS at the time.
Okay. This is the first thing I ever did here. So this is a word-wise user guide. So this is on the BBC BE computers that have a special chip so they could do word processing. And interestingly, the whole way this works is through a markup language. You used to put special codes in the text so that when it printed it, it came out nicely with bold and italic and stuff. And markup languages have, again, been a theme throughout my entire career. And, you know, recently with FutureLearn, we've been using Markdown. It's just like this. Things have really moved on in 30 years. Moving on, 1981. This is the worst probably the worst acronym ever. We did tell them when they changed the name to Southampton University Computing Services, and for my sins I had to do the logo for it. But it's just awful, isn't it? You know. So many bad jokes about that. And one of the things I did was I spent time producing a newsletter called Connections. This is issue 1, which is in 1989. No. There's a whole bunch of them. This one is from 1996. So that's 7 years. There's a lot of them in between. That's what most people did, really. This one explains what the web is. Okay, this is the point. After this, this was supposed to then go to the web and be web only, but all our readers complained and said, no, we like paper. So
I was happy with that. Still got a few people could use that.
And you know, there's some interesting stuff in here. You know, just about backing up and restoring stuff and what have you. It didn't have a crossword, but it does have a sort of scurrilous article at the back. Because it had to have a certain number of pages, it had to have multiple 4 pages, we ended up with a blank page, and so there's a bit of rubbish at the end. And that became a sort of theme where we fill it up with rubbish at the end. There you go.
That was it where my article was.
1990, the University of Southampton. Before this, we were Southampton University. And at that stage, the dolphin arrived. Hated at the time, and now love. It was, when it was got rid of, people complained like mad, and people kind of hated this logo. Yeah, dolphin shortbread. Exactly. Everybody can't get branded shortbread these days. Thing from the archive. So this is the original. This is Adolf, yeah? This is the thing from New Reporter, which was introducing it, which talks about the brand. and I particularly like. The dolphin motif is an abiding link with the sea and universally associated both consciously and subconsciously with friendliness and intelligence. And here's the bullshit piece. This is Sue's corner. It is an embodiment of diversity, and its associations are rich and varied. The free-form figure leaps across and out of a figure of mathematical symmetry, a representation of life and artifact, of order and disorder, and of art and science. And also I have here, which fell into my possession, I'm not quite sure remember now, is how much they spent on this, which was £100,000, including lots of printing and stuff, but I particularly liked the exploration of creative concepts, for which they were paid a grand sum of £17,000 in those days. That's a lot of bottles of wine to come up with a dolphin and a square.
And at the end, the criticism was that it was actually leading the picture, as we all are now.
1999. Well, multimedia. This was the kind of big word where we were combining for the first time, word-wise, you got text. That's it. But now we were able to start combining words and images and maybe even sound and possibly video. And it's no art. And I was involved in this project called IGAS, the Interactive Guide to Academic Services. We had this really nice Mac 2 computer which had a colour screen. It had a colour touch screen. This was so the whole thing had a touch screen interface. How far in advance was that? And it ran off a video disc, so we shot video, and the whole thing was kind of fully interactive. It looked like this, but it's fairly low resolution, but you could touch the screen and look at details of computing services and the library and teaching support and media services and things. It was great. The problem was only one of it, which was in the library, and nobody kind of really understood how to use it. But we made it. It was fantastic. Way ahead of its time. Way far too ahead of its time, really. 1993. HTML suddenly becomes an acronym that I know about because we were using this thing called Gopher Space, which was the prequel to the web, which we had linked FTP sites and things. It was all very weird. But suddenly, HTML started happening. And we had Netscape Navigator version 1 as our fabulous web browser, and I can remember Yahoo being like this and going, okay, if you want to look at pages about art, we've got 466 of them. Because people were putting this together by hand. There was no kind of, there was Sergey Brin and his mate was kind of doing it in their back room, basically. And this was the guide to the www. And that was so exciting, I have to say. We realised suddenly that things were going to change quite rapidly. And do you remember these, anybody? The little animated things that they used to have spinning to show that something was downloaded and keep you amused while it gradually came down the page. 1993, ALT, the Association for Learning Technology, which is my professional body and some of the people here. This is that when it started. And I was sent a promotional copy of their journal. And I joined, and I've been a member ever since. And so that's been a kind of another current theme throughout my entire
How
career.
many members do you reckon you have then?
50, 60 perhaps, that sort of number.
How long has it got now?
I don't know. They don't know some. Lots and lots and lots and lots, yeah. 1994, we all suddenly got very, very keen on PDAs. Who knows what PDA stands for?
Personal digital assistant.
Personal digital assistant, your electronic pal who's fun to be with. And this was marvellous because you could have something that looked a bit like that. This was the Scion 3A, which we were very keen, or the Palm Pilot, or even the Palm 5. Oh. So this is the one from the loft, and it still works. So these are really quite nice indeed. You can have a poke at that later. But the idea of a little computer that you could carry around in your pocket, and this had a nice keyboard, so you could really type stuff on it. It would keep your diary. You had to synchronise it by plugging it into your computer. There was no sort of wireless connectivity whatsoever. But this is just like a sign of things to come. 1994, Hypermedia, yeah, you know all about this. So, what's hypermedia? Well, it's stuff that's linked together. And so it's taking ideas that were coming around from the web and sort of extending those. And I got involved in a project to do with microcosm, which was kind of doomed because the web steamroller was kind of coming at it. But it was great because you could make links between documents of all sorts. It applied a layer over the top that had the links in, so you could link from anything to anything else without actually changing the documents. It was quite marvellous and extremely complex to use. And I got to write the user manual, which was quite hefty. Apparently they've got a version of it now that's working off a USB stick, which I'm quite keen to get a copy of at some point. Oh! I thought this might be getting a bit tense, so I thought I'd introduce a few haiku error messages. Okay, most error messages are really horrid, but these are kind of quite nice. You know, this is the sort of error message we'd like to see from our computer when something goes horribly wrong and it doesn't work anymore. So you might find a few more of those. 1995, I joined the Interactive Learning Centre. So this was a unit run by Sue, with Hugh, which was aiming to change the culture of the university, okay, to make more use of technology in learning. And we kind of did our best, but it was quite a long way uphill. It's an ongoing process still, I think, but this is kind of where it really started. It's a wonderful photo, isn't it? There's Pat Meyer there, who may join us later with any luck. So she's still here and hasn't quite managed to escape the university's terrible gravity yet. And then there's another colour picture of me helping or looming over somebody doing some computing.
And that other guy is Johnny Shepherd, I'm sure.
It is absolutely Johnny Shepherd, yes, you're quite right. So again, he's still here. 1996 was the TLTP, Teaching and Learning Technology Programme. Thank you very much. And that was kind of funding the ILC, but it also funded my first foray into publishing, which was these two books. Well, it's like a companion piece. There's one about geeky computery stuff and there's one about education stuff that we sort of co-wrote with some other people. And this was actually, including Pat Ryan, this actually kind of sold quite well. This was quite groundbreaking in some. It was quite practical. Yes, of course I am. Yeah, if you want to throw in comments and stuff. Come on, click on.
So we were just talking earlier on about a chap who would have been significant in terms of CD-ROM and video disc technology and university. I think it was David Drummond.
Quite possibly, yes. Brian Sprunt might be another name that you've got there. Yeah, Brian tragically died of a heart attack pretty soon after iGas. That was 1996. www. This is starting to get kind of serious. You know, the web is starting to kind of accelerate and get more use. And this is the stage at which we were producing multimedia materials that were standalone on a CD-ROM, so you have to kind of go to the computer and use it. But suddenly, the web happened, and I did this thing based on phase diagrams for steel belting in various ways. This is still online. This is still actually available. If you Google phase diagrams, this one actually comes fairly high up the list of things that you can access, and it's actually quite good. I look back on this, and maybe I'll provide a link later and you can go and laugh at it. But it's actually quite good in terms of what it does. It's got quizzes and things built in. Notice the lovely textured backgrounds that were so prevalent on web pages at the time. And buttons, we used to worry a lot about buttons and making buttons look nice and things. We had button generators and so on.
Didn't work on that.
It was designed to work on small screens. It was designed to work on a 640 by 480 screen, so it actually kind of still does it.
Time has come again.
1998, the ILC turned into the CLT. So this is where the learning technology bit merged with the staff development angle. And I think that was kind of a really good move. So it's the Centre for Learning and Teaching. And they were based in the same building I'm working in now, actually. It's pretty much where you are, isn't it? The same room that the MLE team, or is it just the one above? Yeah. These are some of the people who were here at the time. So that's his name. Miss Barnett. Yeah, she was in contact. And of course, Sue, you can see there. 1998, VLE, the Virtual Learning Environment. So we were well ahead of the curve here. So there was a European project I was involved with called VOLTS, Vocational Online Teachings. Okay, so you remember this, there's too many. But it was all to do with the European computer driving license and developing training for that. And we used a system called Top Class, which was like a commercial thing that allowed you to easily create websites that did educational things, or at least have structured information that looked nice. And as a fallout from that, I started using something called WebCT. So I had this running on a server under my desk. It was dreadfully unsecure, really. And we eventually got up to about 20 academics using it and getting quite good results from it as well. So that when we switched to Blackboard, we had to migrate all their courses from WebCT to Blackboard, and that was quite hard work.
You could have waited a while if you'd have known Blackboard would have bought.
No, WebCT is like an SLR camera. It's got zillions of dials and controls, whereas Blackboard is more like an Instamatic that just does things easily. So I think it was a good move, although I wasn't too keen at the time.
It scares me that you have trouble migrating 20 users and never move on.
Yeah, well, you had to kind of do.
Spent ages talking in the committee at the time about whether we were going to do it or not. Yeah, it's going to be such a big task.
Yeah, they did run in parallel for a while, and we also had to get question mark perception on top of that because WebCT had a fantastic quizzing engine and Blackboard didn't have anything in that space at the time. Now, that was a move we might have regretted. 1998. This is my master's in network collaborative learning. So I got to the stage where I realised that knowing about geeky stuff wasn't enough, and I really ought to kind of get up to speed on education as well. It was a fantastic experience, led by a guy called Dr. David McConnell.
That's not quite how I remember it. What I remember is that everybody who came in after you, or at the point when you were on the other side of the interview panel, everyone had a master's, and you only had a bachelor's degree.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even in anything useful, like it's chemical engineering.
So I had to skip.
You thought you probably better have something connected with, I don't even have an engineering.
Don't worry, I'll edit this bit out.
Nothing to do with his career.
But it was great because it was a very radical education experience. You got to choose your own assignments, you got to choose the criteria, you got to do peer assessment. You know, it was way out there, very excellent. I did get it after 2 years. There's a big bit of paper here. This is ALTO, another acronym you're not seeing. This is the Active Learning and Teaching Online, where I got a whole bunch of academics and kind of did staff development to really work with them to develop their courses and carry that through, provide all the support that they needed. And there was like an online course to support that as well. So you're trying to practice what you preach.
When are you going to play your first disc?
Disc.
You know, like Desert Island disc.
There's no music in it. 1999, two acronyms, focus and effects. This was the great era of funded projects when suddenly we got this large amounts of money coming in from the government to enable us to do fun things. Focus, we got, I think, £20,000 and we were one of one of 5 or 6 institutions. So this was quite a substantial sum of money for this.
Do what?
It was making a website which was talking about educational methods and web-based systems and case studies and all those other things. It never really kind of quite left the ground. There were huge problems with the coordinating all these different people and people dropping out and who knows what else. So all that money, £140,000, what remains is this. So that's pretty good. Still a useful mug after all these years. So see, I'm no mug, ask me about web-based learning. Yet still useful, still works. But when I was rooting through the old stuff, I discovered there's just one more thing. This is my Steve Jobs moment. Something else left over from that project. How about that? This is pretty much the ultimate laptop of the time. It's a Sony Vaio. It's really, really light and thin. You know, Steve Jobs eat your heart out. And it's just,
So it's running the battery again now.
we'll see if that wakes up in a moment.
It's unplugged in for 5 minutes.
No, the battery I think is still kind of okay. It's running.
They did have big batteries.
Yeah. Come on, you can do your thing.
Yeah.
And I spent a hideously extortionate amount of about £20,000 we had on this thing, I'll tell you. But never mind. Maybe it'll wake up in a minute.
You're returning it back to the university school.
Do you think the university wants it?
In 2000, this is another term, C&IT. Anybody has any guesses what C&IT is?
Communication and information technology.
Oh, shut up, you didn't listen to this.
I'm older than you are.
I know. Yes, communication and information technology, and that was the theme of the second book, which I wrote with Atmire. Embarrassingly, copies of this still get sold, and I get like threepence in royalties, and I kind of think, don't buy this, it's so hideously out of date. You know, there's case studies and links here that have died years ago. Okay. Huh. Another haiku error message.
I think this is actually a word sensation.
You are treating chasm as a single syllable. Are you sure it is?
Don't blame me, I just copied them. Hey! Okay, how do you pronounce this?
I called it Latu.
I called it that too. How do you pronounce it?
I always said Latu.
Yeah, but people seem to have problems with it, didn't they?
Many people seem to rhyme it with capital.
Latte.
Perhaps it's wishful.
So the Learning and Teaching Enhancement Unit, and this was Happy Days. So this is a photo of a workshop from around about this sort of period. This was Hayden Mathias, who was the leading this unit at the time, and he came from the teaching support and media service side. But we had this nice suite of rooms with computers around the edge. We ran lots of workshops, and things were kind of looking pretty rosy at that stage. This is later on when Ian Giles took over after Hayden left. And again, there's a few familiar faces and a few new ones. So Fiona's first appearance, for example. 2006, EMP, you're not going to get this one. This is the European Mobility Programme. So we got written to out of the blue, by some Greeks saying, can you teach us about online learning? And we went, yeah, we can do that. How much are they offering? Yeah, that's about 300 quid a head. Yeah, we've got a workshop, you know, it's all fine. And, yep, so here they are. This is the first cohort. They came 4 times in total eventually with different bunches of people. And this is Christos Koutoulakos, who's the kind of the leading it from their end. And we ran a whole week-long course. And I have to say, you know, this is kick-starting online learning in Greece. That having, you know, they did it actually kind of, they took that knowledge back and they started installing Moodle and using on that. They did. And I have to say, I'm very happy, I'm still in contact. This is taken this summer when we went back to Greece and we hooked up with them, and we were expecting just to meet Christos, but he got a whole bunch of the old gang back as well. And it's nice that that sort of connection carries on. 2007, SRS. Student Response Systems, the Turning Point, and the boxes of clickers. It is.
You stole one of them.
I have. So we have one. And this is the predecessor. This is the infrared version that preceded
I've
that.
got a packet of them in the back of my
You've got a packet? Oh, wow. So these were in use in maths even before this, but because they didn't work very well, so they never really caught on. And these are the ones that I gave away recently. So I checked they all work, and they've all been kind of distributed back out from the library. It's quite an impressive sight, isn't it? It's like that death, you know, that scene from Star Wars with the vast spaceship is coming towards you. 2009, CNAUT. This is becoming a certified member of the Association for Learning Technology. So ALT finally got its act together and said, okay, well, you become a bona fide member of our organisation and get some sort of qualification if you put a portfolio in. And so, yep. So these days I'm supporting more people going through Seawater, and I would encourage anybody here who's involved in learning technology to get this because it's a good thing, particularly if you're thinking of changing institutions. or perhaps, especially if the institution is thinking of changing your institution. 2011. Hi, come on in. Come on, grab some drink or something. Telly. This is the one bit, I got another awful acronym. The Technology Enhanced Learning Enablement Unit. This was my return to iSolutions just for a short while after Latouche shut and before other things started. And this was our little interior joke. So, which one's this? Yep, it's Tinky Winky, and I was Tinky Winky. And then we've got, this is Gypsy, Nala, and Poe. We've got Heidi Solheim, Alex Furr, and Fiona Harvey, who might be there. Okay, you can work out which one's which. And Bob Price, as Nunu, keeping us all in order and hoovering up afterwards. So I'm sorry he isn't here, but you can tell him afterwards. Another quick one. – 2012, CITE, the Centre for Innovation in Technology and Education. So this is where Hugh really starts to try and pull us all together and rescue us from iSolutions. Did I say that? There wasn't a team. There was never a team photo I discovered. So we've had to kind of pull together a little collection of pictures like this of people who were involved, and it's not complete either. So there are more people. I was very excited. This was my office. There's mine. My office was right next to Tim Berners-Lee. He was never there. He never visited that office. It was just like a nameplate, but nevertheless, it's pretty good. 2012, SIP, the Curriculum Innovation Programme, okay, where we were developing special modules that would fit round people's regular programmes to provide more excitement and a bit more diversity. And this is one of the high points of my work here, was developing a card game which allowed the students to model a United Nations Sustainable Development Goals conference. So they each took part of a different area, you know, India or South America or Russia or Europe or America, and then they try and play that power block and get the goals that they wanted by playing cards. It worked really, really well, and it's still actually being used. It's been open sourced and now used across the world. So that's a good win.
Simon got lots of awards.
But he got lots of awards for other things as well, but this is kind of part of that. He's just a great person to work with.
Yeah.
2013, the MOOC. So, massive open online courses with FutureLearn. I was really pleased with a couple of bits of work here. This was trying to explain to students about how much water there is on Earth. And this is a really good analogy. You know, it turns out that if you scraped off all the water and had it in a ball, it would be like a pea next to the Earth being an orange. But analogies are good for remembering things. I also came up with this nifty picture as well, showing that ball of water hanging over the United States, so that you can get an idea of scale.
So it's not that you like to do peas
No, I'm not very keen on blue peas. I'll give peas a chance, but not blueberries. 2014, CITE mutated into Iliad, which is kind of what you'd always had in mind, but it just took a little while to get together. This is the best acronym ever, I have to say, I think. The Institute for Learning, Innovation and Development. So I always used to joke that this was technology was the Trojan horse, that we were going to sneak inside the ivory towers of academia and burn down their educational experience. And maybe the sort of MOOC was showing that direction. 2014, I was starting this, again, I've been a cost centre for the university. I keep on finding things they've got to spend lots of money on. Well, I'm still doing that. Panopto. So this was looking ahead, thinking, oh, lecture capture, that would be a great thing to have, and running a little pilot. No, it started there. It's quite recent, yeah.
2010.
2010, is it? Inaccurate information, sorry about that.
I think the change was that initially we had 30
Yeah.
seats for it, and I think that was probably when we went
Come on in, have a sip of drink.
wide.
Sorry, I'm late.
Go on, flash the pictures up. Go back.
Yeah.
Oh no, have I missed it all?
No, this will be on Panopto, don't worry. You can fast forward through it. And why did we choose Panopto? Because it was the shiniest pair of sneakers in the shop. It did more, it was better, it just kind of went better. And I think that experience is still continuing. Would you agree that it's pretty much the best on the block?
I think so.
Yeah.
But also, when we got it initially, it was the only one software only, wasn't it? It
No,
didn't need a hardware.
there were a few others.
Really? I thought they all needed hardware.
No,
In 2010.
Maybe thinking about 2010.
We went into it trying to buy Echo 360 and procurement made us do a tender. And
Ah.
that's the only reason
Yep.
that we found
Came out this.
Wow.
Maybe tenders aren't quite as bad
As people make out. Yeah, it was a happy accident, certainly. And certainly things like being able to upload video assignments for students and things. It's got some really neat features. And the quizzes you can embed now, who knows what else. 2014, another high point. This is Portus. This is one of the MOOCs we did with FutureLearn. And this is where I got to go out to Italy and do some filming on an iPad. They'd run out of money. That they dithered around so much, archaeology dithered around so much, they'd spent all of their budget for the videoing that we were going to do. And all that was left was, we can send somebody out on a cheap airfare with an iPad, and that's it. But it worked really well. I have to say, the results were really good. I did all the video editing in the airport lounge on the way home. 2016, digital learning. There's no acronym. This is a first. This is a first in all my time here. So thank you, Stefan. We resisted the temptation to call it the DLT. That's not a logo, by the way. That's a design. A device. Sorry. And here's the team here. 2016, another buzzword, gamification. Okay. So being able to sort of make activities more playful. And the one that I got involved with mostly was sustainable hairdressing. I now know more about hairdressing than I ever imagined I would in a million years. So there's a virtual salon that you can pan around and look at the thing. There was some money, there's a project. Well, I had some money. Yes. Yeah, Denise Bader in the...
Where's the next factory?
She's in business.
Oh, business.
Yeah. And it's really serious because there's a lot of energy and water and everything used in hairdressing. So actually, okay, you've got sustainable hairdressing. But when you kind of look at the figures. So I had it so that you pan around and you kind of click on things, then it would show you some nifty device and talk about low energy hairdryer and stuff. And then when you kind of clicked, yes, I liked it, so you liked things, it would tell you how much money you save. Oh, you buy one of these, your salon can save 300 quid a year. And that's the sort of persuasive argument that we're trying to put over. So it's been used by thousands of hairdressers now. It's built into all of their training courses here and so on. And we're even starting to think about franchising it out to Italy. So, yeah. So that's a good deed for the day.
That goes back further than 2016, surely.
2016, it does, but this is where it's really starting to bite. The bring your own device sort of thing, where students, we're encouraging students to use their own devices, and in this case it's Me Too. So this is again that kind of cost centre thing. So this is the voting system. This is how the take-up has been over the past year. You can see it's this nice curve going up. And this is largely through word of mouth. So I think fairly soon it will become a sort of much more standard part of the teaching here. We'll be forced to pay for an institutional license every year forever, and that's my parting gift to the university. And that's it.